Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, what is happening right now in South Africa is so predictable. I mean, we really don't have to go through all the levers like corruption, incompetence, and it's just a raft of things we can pull up, and I think you all know what they are. But in the first quarter of 2019, South Africa's GDP fell by a dramatic 3.2%. That's huge. The actual amount of total spending in South Africa fell by 3.2% in the first 3 months of this year. That just shows the economy is in free fall. South Africa's economy shrank by an appalling 3.2% in the first quarter of this year compared to the last quarter, the worst performance in a decade. Weak levels of investment and more than 270 hours of load shedding wreaked havoc across the economy, while a gold mining strike and a weak grape harvest added to the pain. The latest numbers from the Statistics South Africa show that the economy was exactly the same size in the first quarter of 2019 than it had been in the same quarter of 2018. The economy is no larger in 2019 quarter one than it was a year later. This data released reflects poorly on President Cyril Ramaphosa's economic stimulus and recovery plan, launched in September 2018, PricewaterhouseCoopers said in a report. The rand took a painful hit following the GDP rate release, falling by almost 2% to 14 rand 76 to the dollar. And it goes on to say the mining industry decreased by 10.8% with sharp falls in coal and iron ore, while a protracted strike at Sibanye hurt gold output. Now, don't forget that Anglo Gold Ashanti is shutting down its gold mine. And Tongaat Hulett have just fired 5,000 employees because they can't afford to keep them going. What's happening is that the economy is just imploding. And, you know, these guys who are now starting to stop trucks on the road, they're looting them. They're probably desperate. They're probably starving. We have basically the early stages of what's going on in Venezuela. Soon there won't be trucks on the road because it'll be too dangerous. And when that happens, your shops aren't going to be carrying much food, believe me. Oh, look, it's just, there's just so much terrible news here. Exports of goods and services in South Africa fell more than 26% in the first quarter due to the smaller manufacturing and mining output. Manufacturing in South Africa has collapsed. Let me show you a chart and you can see this for yourself. Okay, when you look at this chart, you'll see the biggest growth industry in South Africa right now is government. Government uses taxpayers' money to actually fund itself. So it's a strange, quirky irony when you've got GDP dropping by 3.2%, you've got government increasing by 1.2%, and on top of that, you've got an incredibly dysfunctional business sector. Have a look at this. Construction down over 2%. Trade over 3%, transport over 4%. Look what's happening to the trucking industry right now. It's absolutely crazy. Electricity down 6.9%. Eskom with blackouts and load shedding. It's just shocking. Manufacturing 8.8%. That's the engine room of South Africa. With mining down 10.8% in the first quarter of 2019. And then the biggie is agriculture. That's how you feed people. And with all the droughts and with the lack of government support, we have all these farms being repossessed. It's not looking good in South Africa, I'm afraid. It's not looking good. Okay, there you go. You can see what's actually happening in South Africa. Cut the bullshit aside. The only area that is really doing very well as far as spending money is concerned is the government itself, which relies on taxpayers' money. And when your GDP decreases, guess what else decreases? Taxes. So what are the government doing? They're putting fees and levies onto every single thing they can think of. And they're going to be raising the petrol price again. You know, it is electricity going up, petrol going up. It's going to be impossible to actually live in South Africa soon. It is just going to be too expensive. Let's look forward. The second quarter this year should see a strong boost from agriculture, with citrus industry on track to reach record exports of 137 million boxes this year due to large output, says Silobo. Now, oranges are the only bright spark in the whole of the South African economy. Everything else is going backwards. Citrus farmers only started with their harvest activities in the second quarter, and we expect its fortunes to be reflected when the data becomes available, he said. However, Silobo thinks South Africa's agricultural industry will still shrink over the whole year. This is due to dry weather in the central and western parts of the country, which will hurt major summer crops such as maize, soybeans, and sunflower seeds. He expects large declines in production for each of these crops. 2 successive quarters of negative growth will mean the country is in recession, and there is little evidence that the South African economy was on full blast in the second quarter. In fact, the ABSA Purchasing Managers Index, which reflects activity in manufacturing and services, showed a sharp drop in May. Trade data also showed that South African exports declined by more than 1% in April, which contributed to a surprise trade deficit of 3.43 billion rand in that month. And of course, to try and keep the economy afloat, interest rates are going to be cut. At its meeting last month, 3 members of the Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee voted to keep interest rates unchanged, while 2 voted for a 25-point basis cut. Following the disastrous GDP data, the majority of members are now expected to vote for a cut at their next meeting on the 18th of July. So, it doesn't look good for South Africa's economy. And, quite honestly, things are on a tenterhook because there is so much rioting happening now that the police service have completely lost control. Major roads are being cut off. Trucks are just blocking roads. And I've seen some very interesting information about the reason behind these truck burnings and truck blockages and things like that. And it just reflects what's going on in the rest of the country. Corruption all over. It's just shocking. It's a gangster state. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates and have a great day. Bye for now.